Hello, thank you for volunteering for checking the spelling of the Anguttara Nikaya, or maybe the Samyutta Nikaya or the Majjhima Nikaya. So what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you a small section of the Nikaya, depends which, and right here I have a file called AN04-06 EPUB. That's the book 4 and 5 and 6 of the Anguttara Nikaya. So before I was going to have you copy all the files and then make a file, and we'll skip a step and I'll just give you an EPUB file. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up, Sigil, which you should have installed on your machine. If you don't have it installed on your machine, you can go to GitHub. You can just Google Sigil download, and you can find the website here, which is the first thing, and then it says go to the GitHub release. So you click there, and you just scroll down a little bit, and you'll see a bunch of different files that you can download. So if you're on a Mac, you want to download the DMG, and if you're on Windows, you want to download this one, x64.exe, and it will download for you. I think this might be a standalone version. You're welcome to download that if you don't want to install something and you just want to download just a big directory. Let's see, these are nothing because they're really small. You can see they're just bytes. So what you want to do is you want to get this file here, which is 45 megabytes, and this one here, which is 89. So if you're on Linux, you can just install it. It's in the repository because it's open source. This is the nice thing about Linux. If you want to install open source software, it's very easy. You just say install open source, so whatever it's called, sudo apt install Sigil, and it gets installed. So we're going to open up Sigil. Did we open it up already? Yes, we have it open up here. And we're going to open up the file. So I go File, Open, just like any other thing. And wherever you download the thing is where it's going to be. So for me, I have it on the data drive, and it would be in your download directory because I would send it to you via email. So I'm going to open up this file right here. And it'll take a little bit. This one actually has quite a few files in it. These are all the files on the left-hand side. Okay, and this is just a small portion of the Anguttara Nikaya, so we're dividing it up, and we need to keep track of everything. So let's go to, we want to go to spell check. Before we go to spell check, we want to check your preferences, and you want to make sure that it says ENGB. So that means English, Great Britain, or England. We were doing English, the British English, and we want to make sure that it's consistent when you spell check something, because sometimes color is spelt with a OUR, and some of the words like analyze or something like that might be spelled with an S. And so we want to be consistent so that the readers can understand that this is British English, and otherwise we have to change more words than we really should be doing. So this is fine. And what we want to do is we go to Tools, and we go to Spell Check, right like that. And boom, you're going to get a list instantly, or almost instantly. And you want to just click on Word and Word again, just to make sure it's sorted. Because what you're going to do is you're going to go through the list, and you're going to search for all the English words. These are all Pali words here. Most of the words with the capital letters are Pali, but not all of them. and actually one up at the top, like AAD, okay? So this is actually a word, probably and, okay? So we have to just go slowly through each thing, and most of the polywords, just you can know quickly, like anything with BH is going to be a polyword, so you can skip through quite a bit fairly quickly. What you don't want to do is you don't want to click on a word, then click on another word, then click on another word. What happens is it's going to open up all these files here all the time. And we want to try to keep this clean. So I want you to not click on the word actually, but I would just want you to scroll through the words. Sometimes you click, doesn't matter. But try to close all the files except for the first one, section 1 XHTML, okay? So this is just a blank file that actually, before we loaded anything, it just included it. What we want to do is we want to change the spelling, and then what we want to do is we want to save the file that we changed so that we don't have to keep resaving everything over and over again. We have a thing called, we're using GitHub, and we'd like to keep track of the spelling changes, and after you make the spelling changes, I'm going to get a bunch of files from you, and I'm going to actually check the differences and make sure that the book is only changed where we want it to be changed. So I'm also doing spell checking work myself, but I'm also I'm going to be looking at all the changes and hopefully going through all of them. I'll be going through them pretty quickly. I'll be trusting what you're doing, but some things I have to look very carefully and make sure that everything was done correctly. So let's go through some spell checking things. Let's click on this AAD here, and what we don't want to do is, let's suppose it suggested and, which it needs to do. So, and when he had thus spoken, okay? So we know that's and. What we don't want to do is, let's suppose it's a word that's a little more easy to guess, for the computer to guess, and we don't want to use any of this interface to change the word, like a normal spell checker would. What we want to do is we want to double click on this file, and then it'll open up the file. So it's AN. You don't really have to pay attention to the numbers so much, but you just have to understand that when you double click on a file, it opens it up. I mean, when you double click on a word, it opens up the file. So what we want to do is we want to manually fix it, so we can erase the A and change it to N, or if we're lazy, we can, actually it doesn't have the suggestion here, we can right click on it and we can have it guess the word. We'll do that later. So we're going to change it and then we're going to save it. So actually before we start doing any of that, we need to make a directory to save our new files. So we have AN04-06-epub, but we don't have a matching directory. So what we want to do is we want to make, actually this is a matching directory, but this is actually what I built the files from. Don't worry about that, you won't see it. So we want to make a new folder, and we're going to call it, here it is up here, and we're going to call it new AN04-06. You would name it new SN, whatever, matching the EPUB file that I send you. So it's right over here. You can see it here. So right now there's nothing in it, but it will fill up soon. So what we want to do is we want to go back to the file. We already changed this word here, AND, and it's highlighted over on the left. And so what we want to do is we want to save as. And don't change the name of the file. We want the name of the file to stay the same. It's very important. And we're just going to, the first time you have to find the directory that you created. So I have new AN04-06. You can see right here, new AN04-06. We just created this. It's empty, and we're going to save it there. After we select our directory, everything is going to be set up, so you don't have to really think so much. So a lot of the words here, I'm not going to look through all of them. This is what you're volunteering to do. Most of these are polywords here anyways, okay? And especially the ones that begin with capital letters. But go through it slowly. There's going to be quite a few, maybe 10 or 20 words that need to be fixed within the capital letter words. So after you finish the capital letter words, it's going to start with the alphabet again, starting with lowercase a. And of course you see AAD again. What I want to do is I want to go to a different example. And I have some words already picked out before I started this video so that I don't have to be searching all the time to find an example. And so one of the examples is analyze. Now, I just made a mistake. So we had just fixed this one here with and, right? And we saved it already. And if we open up a lot of files, okay, so we go to another word, then we go to another word, and we forget, did I save everything? Then it can get confusing. So what I want you to do is, after you save the file, this is the one that we changed already, and I want you to close that out so that only we have this file open and this file open. The reason I want you to have section 01.xtmhl is because you need to have at least one file open in Sigil. So I want it to be this file that you know is blank and it doesn't belong to anything. So we have analyze. This is actually, I think, spelt correctly with American English, but British English wants to spell it with an S. So what we need to do is we need to change that. Now what we could do is we could click on here and it would automatically change it like a spell checker would, but we don't want to do that because we're going to lose our word, okay? So we're going to lose our place where we are, so we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to change it. We know it needs to be S. We can either change it manually, which is probably preferred, or what we can do is we can right click and then change it here. And the red line underneath that marks it as unspelled, misspelled, spelled incorrectly goes away. And then we know that it's fixed. Now what I want you to do is also pay attention to the number. You see this, it says count. Back in the box here, it says count. There's only one word that's spelled as analyze wrongly one time. But analyzing is misspelled 5 times. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to save this, right? So we're going to save it and just check your directory the first few times, but it's already going to the new AN0406 directory, which we just created, and we saved our first file, and it remembers our last directory that we saved to. So that's good. So we can say, boom, finished. So then according to procedure, we close this file here. I'm going to click on the X, and then we only have one file open. Now we're going to go to analyzing. So I click on the word, automatically it opens up the file. I don't know if it was the same file or a different file. It doesn't matter because we're going to save it every time so that we don't miss anything. So again, analyzing, we're going to change it to analyzing, and I'm going to manually change it, okay, rather than right click on it. And what I'm going to do is sometimes I would want to save it each word, and sometimes I might want to just wait, okay? So I'm going to click on it again. I'm going to click on the word again because there's 4 more that needs to be done. Okay, and you see it actually opened up a different file. So now I'm not going to be confused. I might be confused. So immediately what I want to do is I want to save this old file here, and I'm going to do save as and click save. And now there's a third, there's actually a second file that we're doing. So this is actually, it was a previous file that it caught. So we click on analyze. See, I lost my place. We already changed it too. But so we're gonna save this one here. Right click, save as, and we're gonna save it, and we're gonna replace it. And again, and here we have this is another word. We're gonna save it, and we're gonna replace it. And you know what? I'm getting confused now myself. I see analyze down below, analyzing, and I'm gonna just save it right now. And then I'm gonna close it. So save. and boom. Actually, so it didn't prompt me to replace the previous one, so it was actually in another file. So if we actually open up this directory, there's 3 files there now. And so now we're going to go back to our file here, and we're going to close it. And there's a few more. I can't remember if we saved it. It doesn't matter. We did save it. We're going to replace it anyways. You can never replace something too much. Don't worry about it. So we're gonna replace this, and I think that's it. There's another one down here, and we're going to replace that. And the red line goes away. That's perfect. I'm going to save it. And boom, it's finished. So I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it. And I double click on here on analyzing. Again, I click on analyze, and it can't find anything. You see that nothing opens up. It's under section 0001 HTML, and it doesn't do anything. That's because it doesn't exist anymore. And so this is one of the reasons why we, whoops, I clicked on something else. This is one of the reasons why we close all our files and we don't use the interface here, because it will the word will disappear from the list. We have a few more things that we want to look for. Let's look for, usually there's a word called blessed, B-L-E-S-T. So let's see if it's here in this section. I don't, yes, it's here. So if there's only 4 things of it, you know, you can fix it. But you don't have to fix a word like blessed. Blessed is a old version of blessed, B-L-E-S-S-E-D. So you can decide whether you want to do it. Sometimes you might see it like 20 times, and I'm going to just recommend not to do it because, you know, it's really confusing, especially when you have multiple numbers. But you can fix it. I would recommend you to fix blessed to B-L-E-S-S-E-D. Because sometimes, you know, you see blameth up here, okay? And this is spelt correctly. They have a lot of words in this ancient, it's a very old version. It was the first time, it was the very first, one of the first translations of the Pali Suttas into English, and they decided to make it sort of, you know, Bible-ish, using archaic words, using like the, you know, sort of like Shakespearean words and, you know, things like that. And so I would like you to fix it, but if it's written like 20 times, don't do it. Again, we're going to clean up our interface. When you click on a word, if you're just curious, is this a word, Blaine, or, you know, so sometimes you have to go to the dictionary to find out. Another thing would be, let's go over to the H's. As an example, I was going through the list already before. And let's go to house fathers and house folk, okay? So sometimes you're going to want to put a dash, okay? So house folk is only 1, but this one is like 11 times. You know what? Just leave it. Let's not worry about it so much. But, you know, if it's done 1 time and it's something that looks like you can have a dash on it, you know, it just makes it a little better. Sure, let's change it, let's save it. Okay, already going to the directory up here, and we're going to save it, boom, finished. The house fathers, we're not going to change it, and it doesn't really bother the reader so much when we see house fathers. And a lot of times the Pali word was just one word to mean house father, the father of the house. So it's not such a big deal. It's just something that lets you understand that you're reading something that was translated into Pali, and it was one word before, and they wanted to leave it as one word. Sometimes it's not like that, though. There's, let's go to the L's. The L's is not very far, so we'll just sort of scroll up. And you can see that, you know, it goes pretty quick. Most of the words are Pali. A lot of these words are Pali. And so we're going to go to, I wanted to just show you like looketh and loseth. You know, these words are not much of a problem. they're just like these ancient words. And you can check on the internet, and some of them might work, some of them might not work. And so let's go to the ends, and like here's one thing that I got a little confused. A lot of times you might have to sort of guess what the word is, because a lot of the times they're just these words were scanned from pictures of the books. So a lot of times you might have to sort of guess. It's a little bit of a game here, but most of the times you can really see, just like A-A-N-D, you know something's wrong, you know it is and. If you have a problem and you don't know what it could be this, it could be that, you're only 80% sure, you should be 99% sure all the time. If you're not 99% sure or 98% sure, don't change it, write a note, let me know. So give me a little note for some words that you weren't sure about, and then we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll go to the original books and we'll find it out. So let's go to, I wanted to go to no born first, just to show you. Yeah, so this one, born really should be born, no born. You know what? This is like the old Great Britain way of doing it, but I've been changing these. You might want to change these. A lot of times you can see, even though it's 26 times, you can see that a lot of it's mostly in one file, and that you can do it pretty easily. And so I'd like you to do it actually. With the 2 words, that's something you can leave, but with the Great Britain spelling, which actually is not that anymore, I guess, the British English Dictionary is suggesting born. So we want to do that. You want to make sure that you have the British Dictionary. This is very important. Lastly, there's sometimes you have to guess, like non-orts. Okay, this seems a little strange, and sometimes you have to read it. You know, gives with thought, gives with his own hand, gives with non-orts, gives, sorry, not with non-orts, he gives non-orts, and gives holding views as to the future. So I looked at this and I thought about it for a minute or something like that. You don't want to spend too much time. And then, you know, I can't really think how this would fit into this sentence. And sometimes it might actually be a word. So if we go to the dictionary, and here I just typed ORTS define, and Google will try to search for that. Lo and behold, orts means a scrap or remainder of food from a meal. And so if we go back to what it means, lo and behold, it's spelt correctly. So we're not going to do anything. That's perfectly fine the way it was spelt. Here above here, you can see this was a scan error, non-disappearance, and it was done 16 times. But this is a non-abridged. Before it was abridged, and he made this, the person who built these web pages, he made these non-abridged. So there's a lot of repetition. So you can see disappearance, disappearance, non-disappearance. You can see that all around, and that would need to be changed. What else? There's just a few more things, and then we're going to call that quits. Here is olds, O-L-D-S. So these used to be web pages, and we want to remove these. But if you don't know anything about HTML, I'd rather you just not do anything. So if you know HTML, then you should get rid of it. If you don't, so what we would do is you want to go where span, and you want to make sure you get the end span, okay? And you'd want to delete anything in between where it says olds, T-H-A-N. This is Ajahn Thanissaro, and this is a translation by Olds. We've stripped this out programmatically, but it didn't catch everything. I'd actually like you just not to do anything if you've never done any HTML or looking at HTML. It's best not to do anything, and we'll just search for it and we'll get it. There's only 8 of these, and there's probably about 20 of them, 20 or 30 of them in the whole Anguttara Nikaya. I can edit those out later. The last thing that I want you to do is POS. So let's go to POS. So I passed it, and here it is here. And you can see here that this is a half word. So is POS and session. Session is actually spelt right, okay, but it's really possession. Possession of a Raja, so a king. So this is not spelt correctly, and here what you need to do is I want you to go to session, okay, and I want you to cut it out. So I hit Control X to cut. I think you can do it the old way by going to the edit menu and cut, okay, or you might be able to highlight it and right click, and it says Control X. So what we want to do is we want to actually grab the space too. We want to make sure that there's the space, and we want to go over here, delete the dash, and go here and possession. Boom, finished. And there's an extra space. We want to get rid of that. So then this is fine. You want to be careful about these are HTML codes, and you want to leave them for now. Later we might strip them out. But this is, the page number is 214. And in the olden days, it actually went from there was a hyphen on the bottom of the page at the last line, and there was a hyphen for the next line. And this broke them up, and it's saying that this was the end of page 214 and that it was going up to 215 or maybe 213, and then now this is 214 or something like that. Probably this is 213 and now it's 214. Whatever it is, we changed it and we want to save it. And we're going to save it. And you know what? I'm busy teaching and telling you what to do. So I've just closed all these and I didn't know if we saved them or not. We want to do that. This is where we can get lost. So, but I was just pointing out a lot of examples, and I don't know if we were changing them or whatever, and I was clicking on a lot of words. But what we want to do is we want to keep the screen clean so that we know where we are, so that we can change it. So we don't have to go through this list again. But we probably will anyways. So we'll go through the list one more time after you finish that, and we'll make sure that there are only poly words and only abbreviations that are getting found in the spell checker. At this point, we're finished. What we want to do is you want to do this every 5 or 10 minutes anyways, and you want to say save. You don't want to do save as, just hit save, boom, finished. This is going to be in the download directory where you downloaded the file. In this case, this is right here, AN04-06 EPUB. It will be named for yourself, and this has just been overwritten. Right now it is 403, and if we look at the properties, the last time it was saved, and you'll see that it was modified at 1602, which is also 402, almost 403. It's 59 seconds too. So then what you're going to do is you are going to, here is the new AN04. So what I need is, I don't need the EPUB back from you. What I need is this directory of changed files. See here, there are 6 files that were changed, and we're going to zip that up. And so I don't know, in Windows, you can just say send to and zip folder. In Linux, which I'm on right now, it just says compress. Okay, so I'm going to compress that because we can't send, you're going to have maybe 50 or 60 or even 100 files that you're going to send to me, and you can't send 100 files over email. It's best to zip it up. It's a lot easier. So we're going to compress it, and we're going to compress it with the same name. We're going to put it right on the root. For you, it'll be in the download folder, and boom, here it is, the zip file right here. Then you're going to email that back to me, and any notes that you have about things you couldn't find, things you suspected, or whatever. A lot of times you're going to see archaic forms. This actually doesn't come as an archaic form, but there are going to be words that you're going to look up, and you're going to find that they're, yeah, sorry, this is archaic. It's an archaic, a lot of the words are outdated. It's one of the problems with this this version, but it's free, and it's also sort of nice to read. You can expand your vocabulary with words that are no longer used. And so you're going to just send an email to me, and with that file and any notes, and you just send it as an attachment. I don't need the EPUB. Here's the EPUB right here. I only need that zip file. Then what I'll do is I'll go into GitHub, and I will, is it Git or GitHub? I don't know. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm going to go into this file versioning system, or this, we used to call it source control. So we would track the differences, and I would look at the differences, and it would show me two files, and it would show me a side-by-side view. And I would make sure that only the spelling mistake was actually changed. And so I have a lot of work to do when a lot of files come back. That's it, and I appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate you helping. If you need more files, let me know, and that's it. Okay, goodbye.